It's time for the Your Personal Bank Show with Ferenc Toth, financial literacy educator and speaker, entrepreneur, and chairman of the board of A Bank in Formation. Take charge of your financial future with Your Personal Bank. Now here's Ferenc Toth.
Welcome to the Your Personal Bank Show. Boy, do we have a loaded show today and a lot to talk about. So let's just jump right in. First of all, I've got a number of current events, things to discuss. You know, Elon Musk purchasing Twitter and recently the big deal that is for free speech and democracy. We've got all kinds of things. There's other things that have happened that are really exciting. It's a lot of good news. But before I get into all that, I want to share something. I mentioned it last week, and we've been working on, for quite some time, last couple of years, frankly, on putting together a situation where we can lower the borrowing costs on the Positive Personal Bank. We have done so. So anybody who's been listening to this show for any period of time knows that when you borrow the bank lines of credit, I've been talking about in the 3 to 3.95% range, depending on the size of the account. Folks, we've got them now down to 2.75%. Now that's big news, especially in a rising interest rate environment, and we're super excited about that. Now, the reason we were able to do that is there's been a lot of money put into the system. You know, the government, as we know, helicoptered trillions of dollars into the system. This is institutional Wall Street type monies, by the way, and they are looking for avenues of putting their money to work and staying on the sidelines with some guarantees, some cash. They're concerned about the stock market, okay? It's just like many other people are, and the economy and where things are going here for the next, few years, frankly. So we have 2.75% money. So what that means is it's really simple. It's one of the lowest borrowing rates you're going to get anywhere, obviously, especially today. But if you fund a policy during dividends, like we talk about all the time, and right now the dividend rates are 5.75 to 6%, depending on which company we go with. And those will likely be increasing in the near future because as interest rates climb, dividends historically climb along with it. All the companies are telling us they're looking forward to higher dividends, okay? So this is exciting. But even if you're at the 5.75, 6% range, and then you access the funds in dividends, earning, and then you access the funds through the bank line and you're getting charged 2.75, folks, you're keeping 3% positive arbitrage, aren't you? You're keeping the difference. And you can use that money for any purpose you want because it's tax-free, all right, for starters. But the other thing is it's liquid, accessible. You can use it for whatever purpose you want, whether it's paying bills, purchasing items, or investing and increasing your investment returns, okay? Especially with the way the economy and the markets and inflation are going right now, increasing your returns is more important than ever. So Your Personal Bank can now help you do that even better than anything I've shared for the last several years on the radio and for the last almost decade, speaking to various people around the country, investor groups and all that. Super duper excited about being able to offer 2.75% money borrowing rates. Bigger positive arbitrage. But the exciting news and announcements don't stop there. This is something we've been working on for quite some time, and it's now official, but we now have the ability to use bank money or other people's money, right, to leverage safely your position and increase your returns into the solid double-digit returns safely, with guarantees, and tax-free. Now, so if you have ever listened to the show or casually, I'm going to encourage you, now's the time to start listening to how, again, you can get a double-digit rate of return. I am not kidding. Safe, with safety, tax-free, through safely leveraging, using other people's money. So basically, in a nutshell, I'm going to take the 30,000-foot view here for a second and share with you, in essence, how we do it. How we do it is frankly, it's how banks pretty much operate and how they invest money. So to understand this, let me share with you real quickly how a bank really makes money. So if you deposit money in a bank, and whether it's $1,000, $10,000, $100,000, $1 million, it doesn't matter. The amounts don't matter. The zeros, add a zero, take away a zero, don't matter. But I'm going to use an example. You put $100,000 in a bank. Obviously, what do? They pay you some interest on it. And these days, the amount of interest they pay you is very, very minimal, right? So what they do if they're a Federal Reserve Bank is then they go to the Federal Reserve and leverage or borrow against that 100,000 anywhere from 7 to 9 times that amount of money, depending on the bank and the financials and state they're in. And so they now have access to, instead of 100,000, now they've got access to 7, 8, 900,000, right? And then they take that money and loan it out, car loans, home loans, and various other things. And so they're earning interest on 7, 8, 9 times the amount of money that what you deposited with them. They're safely leveraging the money and the returns. And that's why I can tell you on last year's reports from one of my bank board meetings we were at recently, that the average profits of the average bank in Arizona, for example, was north of 20% annual. So obviously, when they're charging, 5, 6, 7% for car loans and 3, 4, 5% for home loans, obviously they're doing some leveraging to get a 20% profitability return, right? So that's how banks operate. Well, you can do basically or essentially the same thing today too. And how we do it is quite simple. And again, I'm going to tell you, take a pause for a minute or go back to my website, yourpersonalbank.com. If you missed this portion I'm going to share with you right now, you can listen to any of the previously recorded shows, including this one at yourpersonalbank.com, and go back through this. Now, I'm going to encourage you to contact me if you want more information. That's, of course, toll free 866-268-4422 or our website, yourpersonalbank.com. Here's how it works with no further ado. So we set up a policy to earn dividends, right? We get that 5, 7, 5, 6% dividends on that money. You fund it. I'm going to use an example of 100,000. Again, forget about the zeros. You can add a zero, take away a zero, whatever. The principle works the same way. You fund this. You're going to earn dividends. If you leave it alone, it'll just grow. Most people get that. But if you then decide to access it, you can access it now 275 for over 100,000 in cash values, just so you know, and use that money to get the positive arbitrage. But here's what's really exciting. This is where the leveraging comes in. The bank will now provide the premium for the next year, the year 2 through 10, and so on, even further if you want. My point is, you put the money in the first year, and then the bank, other people's monies, contributes the premiums in the subsequent year. So let's say they fund years 2 through 10. And for those of you that are familiar with premium financing, just so you know, this is not, and I repeat, this is not premium financing. There's a lot of rules and restrictions, and if you fall out of the plan of premium financing, you've got some real problems. Here, this has a ton more liquidity and control. You control it. You own it. You're in control of the situation. My point is simple. You fund the first year, and then the bank comes in and adds and funds years 2 through 10 or whatever we decide makes sense for you. Let's say they do years 2 through 10. Let's say you funded 100,000 that first year. Well, what that means is in 10 years, $1 million would have been contributed in premiums to this policy. And then they're going to charge you interest. Obviously, you're going to earn dividends now on $1 million of contributions, right? You're going to get charged interest on 900 of it from the bank at 275. And if you're earning 575 or more, that's a 3% positive arbitrage. So in other words, you're earning the 575 on the first 100 and 3% on the remaining 900,000. Folks, what this means is really quite simple. And the question I ask people all the time is this. Would you rather earn 5, 7, 5, 6% interest on 100,000? Or would you rather earn about 3% interest on $1 million? And the answer is pretty obvious, and it's a much bigger number, isn't it? This is how we leverage this, using other people's money, leverage it safely, okay, and increase your rate of returns significantly into the double digits, folks. Average rate of return will vary by person depending on age and amounts and things like that, but we're in the solid 6 digits consistently, and that's true. I've gone back, tracking this back 70 years, folks, okay? And I've got spreadsheets showing from companies the positive arbitrage are being in place every single month for the last 40 years, except for 2 months that happen to be equal, so you weren't hurt. So my point is this positive arbitrage scenario has been in place, has been available every single month for the last 40 years. And we fully anticipate it to continue that because both the dividends you earn and the interest you charge are both highly interest rate sensitive. So they correlate, in other words. They kind of follow each other. So like I said, if you're interested in leveraging safely monies to increase your rates of return double digit with safety, with guarantees, tax-free, call me, toll-free 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com. Be happy to schedule a free, no obligation consultation with you and share how this could work for you and really turbocharge your returns in a safe manner, tax-free. And folks, I don't know about you, but given the situation we're in with the economy right now, with inflation, with the stock market and everything else that's going on, all the uncertainty and the high inflation, all those kinds of things, to be able to have some certainty and some guarantees and something with safety based on a very safe asset that's guaranteed so it doesn't lose value, right? And get double-digit returns consistently, that's really, really hard to beat. Now, as we all know, usually when it comes to investing, safety and high returns don't go together. Usually if you're looking at something with safety, you're looking at low returns. This is the opposite. We have the safety with the high returns. Also, there happens to be high liquidity. But for those of you who need access to funds in a short period of time, by the way, we can turn this all around, start to finish in about a month or two, okay? To do the paperwork and various things that need to be done. The bottom line is not like you need to tie up your money for an extended period of time and still be able to get the returns, get the positive arbitrage, and do the leveraging. So a lot of my real estate investors take advantage of this because real estate investors, of course, typically have high liquidity needs. I can share with you how to accomplish this and still use the money, okay? We use a bridge loan if necessary for short periods. Those are like 4% for 30 days kind of stuff to make that happen, make that work. My point is real simple. I'm going to share with you and say, look, contact me for more info at toll-free 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com for more info. We're going to talk about this further in the next segment, so I strongly encourage you to stay tuned. We're going to talk about some, like I said, current events, things that are happening that are really exciting. So again, I'm really encourage you to stay tuned to this show because for a lot of folks that I've worked with on this truly is life-changing from a financial standpoint. So stay tuned, don't miss it.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, feel free to contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com. Back to the Your Personal Bank Show with Ference Toth.
Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show. Look, if you missed the first segment, go to yourpersonalbank.com. Click on listen to previously recorded shows. You can listen to this or any of the previously recorded shows. But I was sharing in the first segment how you can leverage safely double-digit returns, tax-free, using the Your Personal Bank concept and leveraging. I'm not going to go into it all again. I'm just going to tell you, if you want to learn how to operate like a bank, earn and leverage money safely like a bank does. And again, I'm not kidding. I'm going to repeat myself. Double-digit returns consistently. 70. We tracked it all the way back the last 70 years. Consistently, average returns of solid double digits with liquidity. So you got access to vast majority of funds day one. Safe double-digit returns with tax-free. Go to yourpersonalbank.com. Listen to the previous segment, and if you missed my contact info, again, call me at toll-free 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com for more info. This is life-changing. This is financially a game changer for many, many people that I have worked with, that I talk to, and you just don't find this everywhere because, again, this is typically the realm of the institutional investors. And we did have to be able to borrow monies at, say, 2.75% interest rate at this point. That's incredible, especially given an increasing interest rate environment. This is going to be the cheapest money you're going to borrow anywhere, okay? Probably almost without exception. To be able to offer that to individuals is an incredible, Well, it just doesn't happen. Okay. And be able to bring this to the general public, the general average person, is super exciting because, again, it's typically the realm of the institutional world. We are dealing with institutional monies here. That's how we're able to get this done, using the power of cooperating with a number of other people, groups and stuff, to get the buying power to the point we can go to institutional monies, Wall Street investors, to get monies this available, and then this low. And then also have the availability of, say, using other people's monies, institutional money, bank money, things like that, to fund additional premiums in your policy to earn dividends up to 10 times of what you've contributed, okay? And you're earning roughly half the interest on all those contributions of other people's money after you contribute the initial first year. So you get it going, and then we can have the banks come in and keep funding it for you multiple years beyond that, 10 years or more even, and you benefit from all of that, okay, in the positive arbitrage. So again, would you rather earn 6% of 100,000, or would you rather earn 3% of $1 million? I mean, that's the leveraging aspect of how this works. And again, it's backed by a guaranteed asset that does not lose value. That's incredibly powerful and incredibly important, especially at a time like this, where the economy is definitely a lot of uncertainty, right? We've got high interest rates, we got high inflation, and interest rates are certainly increasing, okay? So we've come up with a solution here, and that's why I'm so excited about this, because we have something that can make a real difference financially for people. And it has, and this is game changing, folks. It's truly game changing. So I know I'm rambling on a bit here, but I'm just that excited. So I apologize but it is that big a deal. And if you have any questions, or some of you listening are already clients of mine, and I want you to understand this is new. This is something I've been working on for years to put together, and we finally got it completed. It's official. That's why I'm so excited. And I'm going to encourage you to stay tuned. Next week, I'm going to be interviewing one of the folks that basically helped develop this plan, worked with thousands of clients, continue to do so in helping put all this together. So I'm going to encourage you to stay tuned in next week's show. We're going to even share more details of how this works. But if you want to learn how to get leverage and get those double-digit returns for yourself, leveraging it like that safely with guarantees, tax-free, call me toll-free 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com. Now, I don't want to keep pushing on this so much because there's so much other stuff going on. So I'm going to some of the current events things. And of course, one of the things that's occurred recently is the Twitter by Elon Musk purchasing Twitter. Now, I'm sure you've heard about this and all that type of thing, unless you've been living under a rock. But what I'm finding in talking to different people is there's I think a real lack of awareness of how big a deal this really is. And what I mean by that is, the definition of a tyrant is somebody that wants to control someone else, right? Control their lives, control their speech, control their actions. That's what dictatorships are built on. That's what a tyrant is, okay, by definition. So it's no secret that Elon Musk, he calls himself a free speech absolutist. He has been very critical of Twitter in particular, of how they've censored a lot of people, and he's decided to buy it. And not only has he purchased Twitter, but he's taking it private. That's even a bigger deal, folks, because publicly traded companies, they have board of directors, they have all kinds of rules and things that they have to follow. And there's many stories out there where publicly traded companies go in a different direction of even maybe what the founder envisioned. I mean, one famous example many people are familiar with is, one of the co-founders of Apple, Steve Jobs, at one point, his board fired him. He started the company, okay? So it gives you an idea. And they, of course, later brought him back, and he turned it around and all that kind of stuff. It's a very famous story. But my point is, it gives you an idea of how far a company can deviate from what even the founder's vision for that company was, right? Well, by taking it private, Elon will not have to worry about any of that. He's completely in control, 100%. Elon can do whatever Elon wants, and he's stating he's going to make this a free speech platform. And he has a documented history of being, wanting, free speech. He feels that free speech is it's a key, as he puts it. I think he said it recently stated, it's a bedrock of democracy. And I agree with him. It's one of the keys. I mean, you could go all the way back to the Greeks, who were probably some of the first people to live under democracy. And it was that exchange of ideas and the differences of ideas and the push and the pull of that, iron sharpening iron, is what's one of the strengths of democracy. Okay? It's the ability to be able to disagree with somebody, yet not come to blows, so to speak, right? And the ability of one person maybe to convince the other or compromise with the other. Yes, democracy is kind of messy, but it also generates iron sharpens iron. It also generates some of the best ideas in history of mankind. So he's right in terms of it's a bedrock of democracy. And I'm excited because this will allow a forum, the digital square, which is what Twitter is today, the public square, to have some true free speech. Well, stay tuned in the next segment. I'm going to share more about this and why this is so important for all of us in continuing our freedom. So don't miss it.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, feel free to contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com. Back to the Your Personal Bank Show with Ference Toth.
Welcome back to Your Personal Bank Show. In the last segment, we were talking about Elon Musk purchasing Twitter and how important that truly is. Like I said, you've probably heard about it, but I've talking to a number of people. I've found overall, I feel that there is a general lack of understanding of how important this truly is. See, I think many people still don't realize the level of monopoly in terms of the exchange of ideas that big tech has been able to establish particularly in the last couple of years or so. This is something they've been building on quite some time. It's really taken off the last couple of years. I mean, we had a sitting president, famously banned off of Twitter. I mean, you're talking about the most powerful man in the world becoming banned by a social media company. That's beyond shocking. Okay, I thought at the time, and so that gives you an idea of the level of control that social media and the big tech digital universe had. They had a virtual monopoly. Okay, on the exchange of ideas, and when you have that, it creates kind of an echo chamber, and you can kind of you can shape or form or influence thought and the general thought, and you can do it a number of ways, not only just what is put out there, but also by what's withheld back or what's censored or what's not allowed. So a lot of times dissenting opinions or ideas, we certainly saw that with COVID, where there were people that, there was arguments about the vaccines, not vaccines, masking, not masking, all those kinds of things, right? And the dissenting views of the current administration or whatever were certainly they were censored in many cases, or discouraged, or pushed down, or didn't get to a very big audience, any kind of things. There's a lot of control, a lot of basically very sophisticated censorship. Okay, so there's a lot of people that didn't get or hear even dissenting views or ideas. Look, that's the foundation of discernment, of thinking, being able to listen to different views, different ideas of a certain topic, helps you formulate a more thorough and a better picture or idea or thought of that idea, right? And that's that's how the creative process works. For example, famously, creative types like advertising or whatever will have several people in the room, and they'll just spitball ideas, just throw them out there. no matter how ridiculous it may seem on the surface, just to get the flow of ideas going, the differences, and then the discussions and arguments and all that type of stuff happens until it evolves into a finished product, right? A finished presentation, for example. Well, when you curb that, reduce it, restrict that flow of ideas, that free flow of ideas, you end up with kind of, again, an echo chamber, a monolithic view. And, dictators, how should I say, people that want to dictate to other people, right? Tyrants, understand that. I mean, again, famous example is the propaganda, Nazi propaganda. I mean, that's an extreme example, but Joseph Goebbels used that example to basically dupe an entire nation, right? And we see more current examples where, certainly we know like Russia and China and places like that put out a lot of propaganda. And that's a big reason, a big part of how they keep control of their populations. It reduces uprisings, dissent, all those kinds of things. So that's what the censorship was, a lot of what was going on was reducing dissent of ideas of what the current administration or power brokers wanted the general public to think. Well, now that you have a breakaway, Twitter, with Elon Musk from the monopoly, it only takes one to break that solid wall. It's a chink in the wall, you know what I'm saying? To allow all this free flow of ideas to come through. And then, usually like a dam, there's a hole and then there's a, complete destruction and of that dam. And, you have, it's over. And what I'm saying is kind of gives you an idea when you see the responses. This is very interesting. The responses of people who, when they found out the news that Elon Musk was purchasing Twitter, you found two different ones. You found the people that are elated because, hey, finally freedom of speech might actually be happening again. And you had those that were despair. Look, if somebody is in despair or saddened because they can't censor you anymore or restrict your freedom of speech, by definition, that's a tyrant, isn't it? So we're going to talk about this further and some other things that I want to share that will be pretty exciting as we're going forward here. So stay tuned, don't miss it. And like I said, if you want more information on how to leverage, get those double-digit returns and things like that safely, I was talking about her in the first segment, contact me, toll-free 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, feel free to contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com. Back to the Your Personal Bank Show with Ference Toth.
Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show. Well, like I was saying in the earlier segments, Elon Musk, a free speech absolutist, purchasing Twitter, taking it private, is absolutely huge news for the freedom of speech movement and protecting our freedoms and also protecting the general public, the thoughts and the ideas that develop on what kind of country we want to live in and all those kinds of things. And again, as I stated at the end of the last segment, look at how the people are responding. Those that are excited, of course, are those that still believe in freedom of speech, freedom of thought, freedom of expression, and supporting the freedoms that our Constitution gives us. Those that are saddened or in despair, folks, are nothing more than tyrants. In other words, they're saddened because they want to control your freedom of speech. They want to control the thoughts of the general thoughts of this country and the direction this country goes. They want control, in other words. So that is, that should tell you a lot about who those people are. Don't forget who that is. And frankly, those tyrants have no business being in any position of control or power, yet they were convinced and they, whatever reason, thought they were doing something they thought to gain control. Let's face it. And that's just not a good thing. Just not a good thing. It leads to a lot of bad places. But on top of that, it's not the only thing going on. And as exciting and as big news as that is, and that's absolutely huge, okay? Because the monopoly of censorship from the legacy media and social media is now broken. So it should probably lead to a flood. We'll see. But other things have happened, like, recently with the mask mandates on airplanes being, lifted, whatever, by a judge. It's ridiculous that it had to go to the legal system to get our federal government to do the right thing and give people the freedom and option to choose if they want to wear a mask or not. That's just absolutely ridiculous in my opinion, because it's many studies and everything else have proven masks do little or nothing. And, vaccines and all that have been around for a long time. So anybody that wants to wear a mask, by all means, can. They don't need to dictate that to others. Again, that's a tyranny. That's a power grab over others. So again, those that were excited about the mask mandates being lifted are those that still support and believe in freedoms for citizens. Those that don't would prefer censorship, control, big government, okay? It's a whole different perspective, okay? Now, the fact that was done, awesome. The fact that they're even trying to fight it and blaming airlines and all those kinds of things, that just, again, tells you where they're coming from, and calling for boycotts and things of airlines that are just following the law, okay? They don't want to enforce this either, most of them. And when you see these videos and people where the vast majority of them are taking them off, it tells you how they really feel, right? So, but if you want to continue to wear a mask, by all means, no one's stopping you, okay? That's your right, and I'll defend that right for you to do that. But don't force it on someone else. That's all I've been saying from the very beginning. Another big key move, the border, the immigration, stuff like that. This is big because recently also, the Biden administration was talking about ending Title 42, which was a way to stop it was a way of getting rid of about 50%, roughly, of the illegal immigrants that are coming across our border. And yes, that's what they are, illegal. They're illegals, folks. And there's a system to gain citizenship of our country. They need to, just like my dad did, they need to follow the system. We need to know who's coming here. Crime is up across the country for several reasons, but one of them certainly is we've got people flooding into this country who we have no idea who they are, and some of them are criminals, okay? But the bottom line is, even some of the Democrats are now coming out and stating, look, we need to not end Title 42. We need to have some kind of comprehensive immigration reform. There needs to be a system, a fair system, for people who want to come to this country, do so in a legal manner to become a citizen. We should have, as many challenges as we have as a country, there are still millions and millions and millions of people that want to come here because it's still a great place to live, okay? It just is, even with all our warts and all, okay? All the challenges we have, it's still one of the best places in the world to live as a citizen, and that's why so many want to come here. We should have if we were intelligent, we would bring the pick of the litter. We would have the best and the brightest, and that's who we would allow in. People who would become great citizens. Thankfully, though, the Biden administration, which has been an absolute unmitigated disaster from a policy standpoint, and just every single policy, including immigration, basically having no policy, just letting people in and trying to let in as many as possible because they got some crazy idea that these people are going to vote for them, the Democrats, in the future. I think they're misguided. I think it's ridiculous because many of these people that are coming across the border are coming from communist and socialist countries. Why in the world would they then come here and if they became citizens and voted, why would they vote for what they had just escaped? I think it's a very, very misguided thing, but still allowing people in here to come in without any restriction, without any controls, without knowing who they are is just beyond foolish. It's beyond foolishness. But thankfully, a judge has granted a temporary restraining order blocking the Biden administration from lifting Title 42, at least before May 23rd. That's helpful. That gives them some time to, work through this, right? And there's, like I said, there's at least 10 Democrats now in Washington that are stating, look, you can't lift this. You can't just have uncontrolled immigration. And the interesting thing is about those 10 Democrats, most of them are from border states. Most of them are from very vulnerable seats, and they're up for re-election. hey, guess what, folks? Our votes, our ability to vote, still has power. So don't ever forget that. So that's another exciting news on the immigration front. So hopefully there'll be more in the future. Hey, the more we block, the more that we can block and prevent and reduce the number of illegals, the better. Until this country finally gets the Congress is who needs to get this figured out and make a sane, rational immigration reform that allows the best and the brightest to come into our country and rejects those that we don't want in this country. Okay? It's just that simple. Now, another bit of good news, again, most people have heard this, but, Florida stripping Disney of self-governing status in Florida. I'm in favor of that all the way. I don't think that's part of the problem we're dealing with right now is we got these big corporations that are basically in bed with governments, both federal, state, and local, to get different benefits, tax breaks, self-governing status, all these different kind of bennies. And, when they do that, they're kowtowing to the government, whoever's in charge. So what ends up happening when you have like the current administration where they have a very left-leaning bias, the businesses, whether they care about that or not, it's not important. If they want to get the benefits, they're going to kind of echo those policies. So in a way, many big businesses have now become a branch of the government, if you will, and the two need to be separated. The government should have no business giving special permissions, tax breaks, or anything else for that matter, benefits to businesses. The two should be completely and totally separate, and they should be doing two different things. And the good news is more and more people are starting to realize this, and hopefully we'll see a movement, and we're starting to see it. Florida did it with Disney, of saying, look, we're not going to get pushed around by business. And businesses aren't going to get these special treatments. And I hope that this continues because it's polluted business. It's polluted big business for sure. And I guess the last thing I really want to talk about in the current events arena, if you will, I had somebody who was talking about, they're talking about the culture, America. This is the title of this article is America's Parents Just Want Our Culture Back. And this fight where it really started was in the schools, with the schools teaching things to the kids that the parents did not agree with. And, it started with the Florida bill where it basically said that schools could not teach sexually inappropriate information to kids in third grade and younger. Folks, I don't think schools should be teaching sexually inappropriate information to any child of any age in the school. I don't think that law, it's good, but I don't think it went anywhere near far enough. As a parent, I'm a parent of teenage girls. I would not, now they're on online school, they're home, we're controlling what the flow of information, what they're learning, which is what I think most parents should do. They should certainly get very, very involved. But if you don't believe in this stuff and you don't want your kids taught this stuff, then you as a parent need to take control of that situation, which we've done. But in my opinion, schools have no business teaching sexual inappropriate stuff to kids of any age. And the good news is that wave has more and more people agreeing with that. And we're seeing things happen in the cultural realm in particular that are just very exciting because we're seeing things again like, we saw a Republican governor in Virginia, which hasn't happened, I think, since 2009 because it was the parents that drove that kind of led that charge, so to speak, because they didn't like what the schools were teaching. But we're seeing stuff from all over the country. In fact, even places in San Francisco overwhelmingly recalled 3 school board members recently for choosing their extreme liberal agenda over kids during COVID. We're seeing Milwaukee, like a place like where a lot of this stuff began. 3 conservatives took seats in the school board. Kenosha, Wisconsin, which was famous, of course, from all the Black Lives Matter stuff when we started, has actually elected a Republican executive for the first time since 1998. And Kenosha, if you remember, was a hot spot for the Black Lives Matter riots after, Jacob Blake It's interesting. It seems like whether you're Republican, Democrat, or Independent, you don't like seeing your city burned. Huh. Kind of interesting, isn't it? It's just basic common sense, folks, right? So my point is we're seeing a flood of a sea change of attitude of what people want their government to do and be involved in. And like I said this repeatedly, I believe this current administration and our government, both elected and unelected officials, have gone far, far, far to the left of where most Americans are and where they want to be and what they want their government to do. So again, we got some great exciting news. Be encouraged. We've got midterms coming up this fall, and we as the American people can send a real message to Washington. Now, the last thing I'm going to say before as we wrap up is I started with the show in the beginning. I was talking about a tremendous announcement. We now have borrowing rates at 2.75%, which is even lower than we've had it before, which creates more positive arbitrage. And again, this is new also. So even if you're a client, I'm going to encourage you to contact me. But we can leverage. We have been using bank money. You can start an account, earn dividends the first year, and then have bank money come in and fund that for you the next, say, 10 years or more even. And so now you're earning interest on, say, 10 times the amount of money that you contribute the first year, and then the bank contributed the next 9. You're earning interest on all of it. And even if you're earning about half of the interest, would you rather earn all the interest on $100,000, which is around 6% today, or half the interest on $1 million, which is around 3% today? I mean, it's pretty obvious which one is the bigger number, right? By the way, 6% interest on $100,000 is $6,000. 3% on interest on $1 million is $30,000. So the question is simple. You contribute $100,000 in both examples. So would you rather earn $6,000 in that example or $30,000? Same amount of money you contributed. If you want more information on this, call me at toll-free 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com. Again, that's 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, feel free to contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com. This show is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information. The presenter and guest on this program do not engage in legal, accounting, or tax advice. Professional advice regarding your situation should be sought if required. Products and riders may have limitations and may not be available in all states. Excessive unpaid loans may affect performance. Distributions may become taxable if not managed properly. Replacements may not be suitable for everyone. There may be charges when replacing coverage. Compare when considering a replacement. Dividend rates and baseline of credit rates may change. Contact yourpersonalbank.com for current rates.